Thank you so much for coming to this service today, this afternoon. I really appreciate it. There are, after all, so many competing claims on your time: birthday parties and holidays, the men's finals at Wimbledon, not to mention the Cricket World Cup. By the way, how are we doing? Nobody going to tell me? 130 for 4, and I'm so glad we suspended the prohibition on mobile phones just this once. As I say, thank you so much for coming. It's truly appreciated. I want to speak about just one thing this afternoon, though it may be that that one thing is in fact everything. The theme is blessing, which for me is the key to life and fullness of living. Moses, in that first reading, bids farewell to his companions, the children of Israel, whom he has led. And by the way, how lovely that by chance the reading set for this evening is a farewell utterance from that towering figure in the history of the Jewish people. And as he bids the children of Israel farewell, having been with them through such tough times, the escape from terrible slavery in Egypt and the trials and tests of the wilderness, and as he urges them to stick together as a community, no longer slaves but now free, he tells them that God's highest intention for them is blessing, their well-being. Or we might say that it is God's overriding plan to pour out his abundant love on them. This is his open agenda for them and for us. Huge, unrestricted, unrestrained abundance of love. There's no shortage of God's love. There won't be even after Brexit. It isn't a commodity about to run out, and it is intended for you. And Moses goes on to say that these blessings, this avalanche of God's goodness, can be magnified and intensified if we love one another. It flows as we bless others, as we walk in the way of love. When we worship, we are participating in God's blessing for us. In fact, we're sharing his nature, which is what he intends to share with us. And when we sing, "My soul magnifies the Lord," or when we hear it sung so wonderfully as we just did, we are responding to the greatness of God's love by saying, "You're great and I love you." I picture this abundant love as surrounding us all the time, whether we perceive it or feel it or not, just as a fish is surrounded by water or a bird in flight is surrounded by air. And this blessing can come to us in many ways. Think of what we learnt about well-being in those series of talks over the last 3 years, about music and the well-being that it brings to some prisoners, the well-being that fashion can bring to someone's self-image, or politics and the right use of power for the purpose of well-being, or reconciliation as the means whereby we effect the well-being of those in conflict. So this is my first point. Blessing is at the heart of the changed life, and God is its source and agent. The next happy chance, if you believe in chance, as I do, is that the second reading from the Acts of the Apostles brings us the final mission and ministry of the Apostle Paul. He's about to say goodbye. And there's a lot that we could reflect on here about St. Paul, and especially about the boldness with which this Orthodox Jew braved suffering and persecution in the service of Jesus Christ, a man of exemplary courage, getting out there, come what may, among the pagan Gentiles, proclaiming the message of salvation, the good news that God desires their well-being. But I noticed this line in the passage that we just heard, and I wonder if you spotted it too. He, that is St. Paul, he gave a welcome to all who turned to him. He gave a welcome to all who turned to him. Now, I want to say that this has been my experience, my personal experience of St. Mary Abbots. From the moment I spoke to Father Gillian and he encouraged me to come here in 2016, I've experienced the embrace of welcome from him and from you. And I've seen that this welcome is what you regularly give. It is profoundly Christian. It says, come on in, be my guest. And when we learn together and share together, as we do, for example, at Sunday on Monday, where we also eat together, we're extending in our fellowship a welcome that echoes the call of Jesus, who says, come to me, all who are heavy laden, and I will refresh you. So it's all about blessing, this time under the heading or rubric not of worship, but of discipleship. And finally, as Trevor MacDonald used to say, and finally, there is mission. There is the church beyond these walls. And when we set out 3 years ago in that first Advent Windows initiative, we knew that we were going to where God is, and where God always is, and that is where people are. And that was whether we were speaking peace to the world, or making space for hope, or telling of light in the darkness. We were being the church, engaging with God's world, praying and singing as people of worship, and chatting and enjoying fellowship and hospitality, disciples of Jesus. We were a microcosm of the church. So, blessing describes God's purpose, desire, and action, which is why we worship, and we respond with thankfulness. God's blessing enables our discipleship, in which we learn and share and welcome others. And blessing motivates our mission, which is how the world learns that the living God in Jesus Christ is there for their well-being. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for the many blessings of this place. Amen.